Where's our video? Ready for the video. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order the January 6th Board of Commissioners meeting. Thanks for joining us. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Anyone parking for this meeting or using the bus can pick up passes now or on your way out, and it is only valid for today. Ethics reminder to the board. In accordance with the Code of Ethics adopted by the board, all county commissioners have a duty to obey all applicable laws regarding official actions, to uphold the integrity and independence of the office, to avoid impropriety in the exercise of official duties, to faithfully perform the duties of the office, and to conduct the affairs of the governing board in an open and public manner. Is there any item on the agenda, the outcome of which will have a direct, substantial, and readily identifiable financial impact for any board member? Also, does any board member have a financial interest in any public contract coming before this board today? There being none, all board members have a duty and obligation to vote this evening. All right. We move to our consent agenda. Does anyone from the public have questions or comments about this evening's consent agenda? Commissioners, any questions? If not, do I have a motion to approve the agenda and consent agenda as presented?
So moved.
Thank you. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we will move forward with our agenda and consent agenda as presented this evening. All right, we move to public comment. The time limit for individual comment to the board is 3 minutes. Please state your name before you begin speaking. If your time expires, you may leave any question along with your name, address, and phone number with the county manager. Board members are not expected to comment on any matters during public comment. This is your time to speak to us. All public comments must be directed to the board as a whole, not to individual commissioners, staff, or audience members. There is no clapping, snapping, or booing allowed during public comment. The board reserves the right to deny public address on any subject previously presented to the board during the same meeting. Please note, a group can elect one person to speak for up to 10 minutes if 8 people in attendance relinquish their right to speak on an issue. All right, we have 3 signed up this evening, and Barbara Booty is our first. You'll join us at the podium, and you'll have 3 minutes, Barbara. When you have 30 seconds remaining, the light will turn yellow.
Okay. I am here to talk about what my family and myself has had to endure and witness for the past 5 years. In March 2021, my neighbor's granddaughter and her husband started using meth. They would get in fights outside about it. The neighbor that lived behind them sent a video of them shooting up in their van. Then they got a camper that drugs were stored in. This was done in the driveway so we could see, hear, and smell everything. They specifically targeted teenagers, selling them weed and giving them alcohol. This couple told them that they were untouchable, nothing would happen to them. They can use, sell weed, and even harass us. Then the couple started asking the teens to sell for them. Because we called the cops CPS and have many cameras, we got harassed. Guns pointed at us, bright lights shined in our bedroom window at night, cursed out daily. driving in our yard, walking in our yard, being mooned, threatened to harm us, and a vehicle stopping in front of our house at midnight blaring music. We have 13 cameras and still don't feel safe. After getting on TikTok, a producer came across my story and we filmed on November 19th to be on Neighborhood Wars on A&E. My intention has and always will be to protect the children. Many teenagers went over there. When the couple knew they were being watched, they got a 15-year-old to sell for them. After I spoke to the lieutenant of the task force, he sent the task force over when the couple was smoking weed with them in the driveway and ran the kids away. Nothing happened to this couple. When a guy flipped his truck and was under the influence and gave the cops my neighbor's address of where he bought the drugs, again, nothing happened to this couple. Teenagers were skipping school, going to the neighbor's house, smoking weed. Parents thought their kids were in school, safe, but they were not. Again, nothing happened to this couple. Last year, we started smelling strong ammonia and sulfur smells daily and a burnt plastic rubber smell at night. We went to attorney and had a cease and desist sent to them. It did nothing. We still are getting harassed. So definitely But I will not stop protecting our children. I was told by a deputy that the DA didn't want cases related to weed. There has to be exceptions. We have to do everything possible to protect children. Drug dealers that target teenagers need to be held accountable. There absolutely needs to be charges specifically for those drug dealers that target teenagers. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. Chris Fink.
Good evening. I am Chris Fink, and I am part of the Buncombe County Community Advisory Committee, and I'm here again to raise your awareness to an urgent community health issue and ask that the Commission play an active role in solution planning that begins in earnest this week. As part of the Community Advisory Committee, we are the volunteer ombudsman attached to Land of Sky, and our role is to supervise the county's 100 some odd residential health facilities that are scattered across each and every one of your districts. These facilities provide services to the aging in terms of nursing homes and assisted living, as well as intellectual development, disability, and chronic mental health for adults through adult care and group and family care homes. In our work, we become intimately familiar with services delivery at these facilities, as well as the function and operations. And we began to hear from operators about financial difficulties that they were facing due to cuts to North Carolina Medicaid, as well as ancillary services, combined with inflation in their overall business operating expenses. And these were persisting even with the restoration of North Carolina Medicaid, such that operators, particularly our small businesses that operate a dozen or so facilities and house 400 of our vulnerable residents, may be forced to consider evictions of low-paying Medicaid-only clients, consolidations and/or closures of their properties in 2026. This issue came to a halt in early November when RHA Health Services announced the closing of several facilities, including the Riverview Group Home in West Asheville, which is our county's only transitional living facility for adults with mental health services. As a result, over the last month, a vigorous effort of a wide group of stakeholders has begun, including Asheville City Council, Via Health, Venture Asheville's Optimus Ventures, Mountain BizWorks, NAMI, and others, to find a solution to the business operating challenges of these facilities. We've succeeded so far in persuading RHA to pause the closure of the Riverview Group Home so that we can find a new operator and use this facility as a prototype for a new solution. As this group starts its work in earnest, though I know Ms. Horton has been aware of this issue and has been tracking along with us, I urge you to consider actively participating, since it's a matter that's going to affect all of us across the county if unaddressed. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chris. Connor Brown.
Well, good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Connor Brown. I hope you all had a nice weekend last weekend and a good new year. I am here today representing Congressman Edwards and doing a staff introduction for myself. Prior to the holidays, our field rep for Buncombe County, Lake Silver, moved on to a new job. That went into full effect over the holiday season, and now I am your Buncombe County field rep. I've been with Congressman Edwards for about 8 months now. I've been covering some of your northern and your southern neighbors, so up to, excuse me, Avery, Mitchell, Yancey, Madison, then Henderson, Polk, Transylvania, and now Buncombe County added to that list. Buncombe County is really exciting for me because I'm born and raised Buncombe County on the Weaverville side. So I'm really looking forward to working with each of you guys and really looking forward to supporting you guys in the way that you guys work for this community. So I want to thank you for your time. Looking forward to being in contact with you guys and looking forward to seeing you around some more. Thank you.
Thank you, Connor. We look forward to working with you as well. Thanks. Are there any members of the audience who wish to speak who did not sign up? All right. Thank you all. Avril, do you have a manager's report this evening?
Good news?
We do have good news, but do you have a report as well?
I do.
Okay. You want to do the good news first?
Yes, please.
Okay. We will do our good news, which is the recognition of Holly Jordan as Governor's Excellence Award winner for Outstanding State Government Service. And Jennifer Harrison is here to provide more information on the award.
Good evening, Commissioners, and Happy New Year. So tonight I brought along a whole team of people to help us celebrate Holly's recognition and achievement. I'm here tonight to tell you, brag about, celebrate our Cooperative Extension Director, Holly Jordan. So Holly this year was honored with the Governor's Award for Excellence in the category of Outstanding State Government Service. And there are so many reasons that she should and was honored for this award, but primarily the award recognizes those that go above and beyond the call of duty in their positions. And as you all know, 2024 brought with us Helene. And as devastating as Helene was, it also gave us the opportunity to really shine as in our government service positions. And Holly and team, all of our cooperative extension team, has done so in so many ways. There's a few highlights up here on the screen on the things that they all achieved together. One of the things was we opened up a store in our store, in quotes, no money was exchanged, at our offices where we handed out over $55,000 worth of clothing and other goods for people that just lost things in the as a result of the storm. We also, I say we, I had nothing to do with it. They also were instrumental in making sure that our livestock producers had feed for their livestock and that we were doing our best to get as much cover crop on the landscape as possible to help with erosion and soil health and sucking up all that Helene brought with us in terms of potential pollutants and whatnot. Additionally, all of our staff pivoted their programming to address the needs of the community. And so what was on the agenda was no longer on the agenda, and new programs were popping up to help our residents get the information that they needed to aid in the recovery. Additionally, all of our cooperative extension staff have participated in helping residents apply for federal programs, state programs, community programs in the form of our community partners in terms of crop insurance loss, crop loss insurance, crop payments, loss of equipment in our agricultural operations. So please join me in congratulating Holly Jordan as our 2025 Governor's Award Excellence Award for outstanding government service, and all of our cooperative extension team for the great work that they do.
I just want to thank Buncombe County. So for those who aren't aware, Cooperative Extension is a cooperative between NC State University, A&T University, we have federal funds, and then Buncombe County. We are part of Buncombe County government as well. And my name was on the certificate, but there was nothing that I did that was me. I mean, it was our team. And so I just want to thank our staff for their professionalism, the expertise they bring to Buncombe County, and Buncombe County for supporting us in all that we're able to do. So without them and the relationships they have in the community with our clientele, farmers, partnering organizations, those people, when they were in need, they felt comfortable coming to us and knowing that our role is education, and they could trust the information, the recommendations that we were able to provide for them from the research that we get from the universities that we work with. And Extension, we're a network. We're a national network. And so we were calling upon researchers in Oregon, Kansas, Georgia to bring help to our community. And so, as Jennifer mentioned, we've had to pivot drastically in some of the programs that we offer. Our land has been changed in some cases forever. And so we are now helping people with their soil nutrients. We're helping people having to pivot their operations where maybe they realized all of their income was coming from crops that they grew, and now they're needing to invest into and seek value-added products to continue their operations. So it's a big job, it's a big role, but we're happy to be here and be able to provide those services to Buncombe County residents. Thank you, and thank you, everyone.
Congratulations, Holly, and thank you for so graciously recognizing the work of your team as well. Yes, to the manager's report.
Thank you, ma'am. This afternoon, I've asked Dr. Ellis Matheson, our Public Health Director, to give us a quick update on public health and some of the issues that we're seeing in our community currently. Thank you.
Thank you, and good evening, Commissioners. I appreciate this time to update you all and the community on the current vaccine preventable disease outbreaks that we are seeing and experiencing in Buncombe County. Currently, we have a community outbreak of varicella, also known as chickenpox, in Buncombe County, with one school in an outbreak where students and staff who are not immune are excluded from school until Monday, January 12th. As of today, since the beginning of this outbreak, there have been 89 cases of varicella in Buncombe County residents. We also have a community outbreak of pertussis, also known as whooping cough, and within that outbreak, we have 2 school districts. Currently, there are no students or staff who are excluded from school. There have been a total of 25 cases included in these outbreaks. And then finally, today, in partnership with North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services and Mission Health, we released information that we have 3 confirmed cases of measles in Buncombe County. All of the cases are in the same household. People who visited Mission Hospital Emergency Department waiting room located at 509 Biltmore Avenue, Asheville 28801, between the hours of 2 a.m. and 6:30 a.m. on January 4th, 2026, might have been exposed to measles. Buncombe County Public Health is working closely with North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services and Mission Hospital to identify and contact exposed individuals to determine if they have immunity to measles and to discuss actions that might be needed to lower the risk of further spread. Laboratory testing is not recommended for people who were exposed unless they develop symptoms of measles, including fever and rash. If you think you have been exposed during this exposure period, please call 828-250-6100 to assess your risk and get connected to a communicable disease nurse for additional guidance. If you are experiencing symptoms of measles, please call your medical provider, urgent care, or emergency department and follow guidance provided. Do not show up without calling first. This will help us reduce potential exposures. Our Buncombe County communicable disease nurses are continuing to conduct case investigation and contact tracing for all of the current outbreaks. And as you know, it's respiratory virus season as well. You may remember I presented to you in early October on what we expected to see this season. And we are now currently seeing a very high number of flu A cases in our state, and COVID and RSV cases are also rising. The good news is, there is good news. We do have solutions to help prevent or reduce severity of all of these illnesses. And that number one and most effective solution is to make sure you are up to date on all of your vaccines. Unfortunately, measles is one of the most infectious diseases. If 10 people who are not vaccinated or immune are exposed to a person with measles, it is likely 9 out of the 10 people will become infected. So as we saw during Tropical Storm Helene, people in Buncombe County value and really care for each other. So now that measles has entered our county, we need to come together again to keep ourselves, our family members, our friends, our neighbors, and everyone in our community safe and healthy. So please check to make sure that you and your family members are immune to measles and varicella, are vaccinated against pertussis, flu, and COVID. And if you are not immune or not up to date on your vaccines, please contact your healthcare provider or the Buncombe County Immunization Clinic to get vaccinated. As a nurse and a mother and your public health director, I urge you to act today to protect yourself and others. May I take any questions?
Allison, thank you for all this information. And for the vaccines, for the measles, the MMR, how often do you need to get that vaccine?
Yes, so it is part of the normal childhood vaccine schedule. And children get 2 vaccines, especially before they enter school, one at the age of 1 and one at the age of 4. It is also one of the most effective vaccines that we have. Somebody that has 2 of those vaccines has 97% coverage.
Okay. So if they have had both of those, then they're fine. Or do they, as they're adults, do they need to get it again at some point?
That is a great question. So people who were born before the before the year of 1957 are assumed to be immune because most people would have been exposed to measles before we had the vaccine. Older people, like myself, I'm 53 years old, may have only had 1 vaccine as an adult, and that is okay unless you work in a high-risk setting, like I do, in a healthcare setting. I have 2 of those doses. So it can be different depending on your situation. So I would encourage everyone to speak with their medical provider to make sure they have the correct dosing.
Okay. Thank you for that additional information.
Sure.
Dr. Matheson, thank you so much for sharing that with us. And I'm sure that as more information comes forward from our CAPE team, we can certainly share that with our constituents and supporters across Buncombe County. I'm curious, and the timing of having both of our school superintendents here this evening ties in nicely. I'm curious what is being done within Asheville City and Buncombe County schools to address students who may have not been vaccinated at this point.
Yes, so we have been working very closely with both of the school systems as well as private schools across the county, coming together, working on communication and how we can contact people if and when the need arises. So they have been excellent partners, and we will continue to have those routine communications so that we can make sure that all students and families have the appropriate information and know the correct action to take.
Thank you. Are there further questions for Dr. Matheson? Thanks for joining us and sharing this important information.
And we will keep you updated as the situation progresses.
Thank you so much. All right, thank you for your report, Avril. We appreciate you. We'll move into our round of presentations this evening, and Vic Isley with Explorer Asheville is here to provide the Tourism Development Authority annual report. Good evening, Vic.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, commissioners. Thank you all for your leadership and service for Buncombe County residents. Since 1983, the Buncombe County Tourism Development Authority has had the honor and privilege of building in and investing in the community here in Asheville, Buncombe County, and throughout Western North Carolina. And that certainly has been most true in the last 15 months. Over the past year, it has become even more apparent how our travel and hospitality community and creative economy are interconnected. Lodging sales, which you see here, indicate what a mixed bag recovery has been for our community as a leading indicator. And as of September 2025, which is the most recent data we have from the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, that data shows that the hospitality sector accounted for all of the net decline in jobs when comparing October of 24 through September of 25 to the same month each time. This shows a clear picture that the situation for our hospitality employment remains a challenge for our residents, still down 2,000 jobs for area residents as of September 2025. Immediately following Helene, Explore Asheville stood up the Always Asheville Fund for emergency grants for area small businesses. And to date, we have raised and distributed more than $2.2 million for hundreds of businesses throughout Buncombe County. And while we've had a long road together and we have a longer road ahead as well, I'm going to take a few minutes to share why we at Explore Asheville are helping manifest and bring to life reasons to believe through community partnerships and collaborations. You know, our team has the awesome responsibility of shining a light on this really creative community in our destination. And even in the wake of this past year, our creative communities and beautiful spaces have earned top accolades from national trusted voices. So you can see many of them here, from our music scene with Rolling Stone, to charming towns like Black Mountain, to just before the holidays, Reader's Digest named Asheville area the nicest place in the United States. And I think that is a testament to how we have all worked together through these very challenging times. Also, with Travel and Leisure, one of the most trusted voices in travel, just last month, Asheville was named one of the 50 best places in travel for 2026, and specifically in the nature lovers category. So we're really, again, proud to work with all of our partners in shining a light on this community to get net new dollars coming in to help our economy. Another really fun collaboration that Explore Asheville is proud to be a part of, and this was on our wish list before Helene, was working with values-aligned artists and partners in Thomas Dambo and his famous Trolls. So working with the North Carolina Arboretum, we brought the U.S. premiere of a brand new exhibit of a dozen trolls from Thomas Dambo that are made from recycled and reclaimed materials, and you can see one of the leaders here in this image. And with our partners at the Arboretum, we are so excited to say over the holidays and into the winter season that November and December daytime visitation has broken all records in the 40-year history of the Arboretum. And that's a really important time through our winter and shoulder seasons here. When they benchmark against prior years in the same period, what that means for visitation levels is that they're over 130% to 200% in our own residents and neighbors going, as well as a significant number of these guests traveling from locations that are more than 4 hours away. That underscores the great growing appeal of this exhibit. Weekday visitation, as the like, is matching what previous weekend visitation is. And this strong performance is expected to extend through mid-February. And so any of those folks in our community and region or on the East Coast, this will be the last time to see them through mid-February because they go all the way across the country to California following the closure of the exhibit here. Travel and hospitality, including conferences and events, continue to act as the front porch of traditional economic development. And while there have certainly been challenges over the last year, there are also some bright spots. Along with the assistance from hospitality partners, Explore Asheville has booked more conferences and events in the last year than we ever have in the history of our organization since 1983. And we've been very purposeful about the types of conferences and events that we are attracting here and bringing here, and those that want to be a part of our comeback. Like you can see Southern States that's just here this week, or the American Forage and Grassland Council Conference, partnering with our economic development partners for the Mo Summit, for purpose-driven companies here, to our own state tourism office, moving their annual conference from Charlotte to Asheville this spring to be a part of our comeback. And one that we just booked right before the holidays is the Homebrew Con, which will be throughout downtown in the spring. And then we own one ourselves, a mini meetup throughout the East Coast for the auto industry. So these conferences and events total nearly 480 events this year that will drive $67 million in direct spending in area businesses that need it most. We've also doubled down on sporting events, looking at the impact of collegiate relationships. So again, the power of partnerships. We've worked with our partners here locally and with the Southern Conference to extend the men and women's basketball championships here in Asheville at the exploreasheville.com arena for the next decade. We've also secured wrestling for multiple years, the Big South baseball championships that will be in the brand new restored McCormick Field for 26 and 27, and then the NAIA National Track Championships, again in May 26 and 27 at the UNC Asheville track. Continuing on the sports front, after 80 years, we are thrilled to have worked with our partners at Biltmore to bring back the PGA Tour for a golf championship starting in September of 2026 for the next 4 years. This will take place at Walnut Cove and the Cliffs. While it is a private course, there will be lots of opportunities for community engagement, and we'll be talking about that at our Year Ahead event next Monday. It's really important to note that the reason that that course was chosen by the tour is because of the length of that course for professional men hitting the crap out of balls. What this means and the why for our community, again, there's a legacy of the Land of the Sky Open being here over 80 years ago. But importantly, the weekend before milestone weekends in Helene for the next 4 years, we'll have a global spotlight, live television coverage of our community and the beauty and resilience of our community that will drive between $15 and upwards of $30 million in direct spending annually, over $84 million in media coverage with 4 days of live coverage on the Golf Channel. And just starting out in year one, the tour's commitment to charity in their communities with a minimum of $100,000 going to local charities and in events throughout the United States, that has grown over the years upwards of $1 million a year. So we're really looking forward to building upon this relationship with Biltmore and our entire community with the tour. The following weekend, following the Biltmore Championship Asheville, we have secured the Outdoor Media Summit in Asheville. This will bring a prestigious conference to our community and our outdoor industry with over 400 media professionals, marketing leaders and CEOs to our region, again, acting as the front porch of economic development for potential relocation and expansion. This will produce over 500 room nights for the industry people, but more specifically for our community, about $500,000 in direct spending throughout our area. In addition, this year the authority awarded $12.4 million to 8 different community projects through the Tourism Product Development Fund, and this includes specifically $4 million to Beacon Park in Swannanoa. And we anticipate opening a brand-new Legacy Investment from Tourism Fund cycle later this spring in April, and we anticipate there will be $12.2 million available by next fall to award to more projects to help our community recover, rebound, and be even more resilient. So we certainly know and recognize and respect that there's more work to be done, not only for our people and places to be whole, but to propel us even further forward together. And so we appreciate the time to address you this evening and would be happy to take any questions or comments at this time, but thank you so much for everything that you do for our community.
Go ahead, Commissioner Wells.
Well, I just want to say thank you to Vic and your team. I get to hear each month about all the details and the tremendous work that your team does. And I very much appreciate what you all do for our community and the dedication to helping us rebuild and get our businesses back up with what they need. So thank you to you and your entire team for that. And I have to say, I'd never heard of those trolls, but that was so much fun. And I'd say more fun. So thank you all for that as well. And earlier today during our briefing, we were talking about the LIFT Fund, and I shared with them some of what the board had come up with strategies for this year. And I know you can speak even more to that. Do you want to share some of the strategies that the tourism board had come up with kind of going forward?
Sure. Even prior to Helene, the volunteer leadership had been looking at, with the funds that we have available and how occupancy taxes are legislated here in our state and what the state guidelines are, is how do we best use those with our municipal partners and with our nonprofit partners based here in Buncombe County, and with the ability to be a debt service partner through both funds, is what are the projects that have created the greatest return for our community that are currently in operation. And so those are, the 3 categories are a new large entertainment and arts facility, sports facilities, indoor and outdoor, but the specific sports unspecified at this time. And then third are family-friendly experiences, and Trolls is a perfect example, but looking at our own geolocation data and credit card data of our residents is where are our residents going outside of Buncombe County or even our state because we don't have the amenities here at home, as well as the ability to bring new events that brings net new spending or TV exposure to our community. And so we're in the process of evaluating those currently. And we plan to have a report in our March annual planning session with the volunteer leadership to report out on what those findings are and how we move forward.
Thank you.
Vic, I'm really curious. That was fantastic to hear about the number of conferences and events that have been booked and $67 million in direct spending just from those 400 plus events. Seems pretty significant to Buncombe County. I'm curious if you have done projections further for the other events that you know are coming, SoCon. You know, do you have an idea of what 2026 direct spending could potentially look like?
We are still working through that. by and large, the lion's share, like 95+% of our visitors are traditionally leisure visitors. And not only here in Western North Carolina, but across the country, given the economy, those bookings are coming in. So, like, they can be in the week for leisure. That 67 million in conferences and events doesn't even include the tour. So we have even more coming in. And because of the kinds of meetings facilities that we have here, not a large convention center or a publicly funded conference center, I call them Goldilocks events. We have to find the right kinds of events that fit the meetings and event spaces that we have. And like the Homebrew Association is one that's going to stretch those limits in working with the Civic Center and multiple hotels throughout the city. So we're really working creatively with our partners, and because of the different business mix that our hospitality partners have seen is that our hotels are more open to group business, that you lay the foundation further out, within a year, so that helps us layer in and leverage business. So ultimately, I believe we're going to come out of this healthier.
Thank you. Are there other questions for Vic?
Vic, thank you for your presentation. It's good to see you. Thanks for being with us this evening. And really appreciate the work that you and your team are doing to generate significant economic benefits for our region. And historically, tourism has been a major part of our identity. And it's really impressive, obviously, but as you presented what tourism generates for us. As we tackle broader issues like housing affordability here at the commission level, I'm curious if you could speak to how you see tourism impacting the housing affordability issue, and particularly for lower wage workers, if you see an interplay there, or any thoughts on how we should be considering that and tackling those things. And also if there's anything that you see how those tourism dollars are kind of reinvested in our community to help alleviate those issues. If you have any thoughts about that, I appreciate it.
Sure. I think the numbers that we see from BLS, Bureau of Labor of Statistics, are pretty sobering in terms of where we were pre-Helene, where we were having labor shortages, where we need visitors and events to come back to our community to support our residents and their livelihoods. We've seen some progress in that, and that's promising, and we are hearing another favorite word, anecdata, from others, that some of the workforce that they've lost to either Charleston or Durham or Wilmington have some plans to come back in the spring. That is also reliant on us to make sure that those numbers are going up in terms of visitation so we can support those jobs. So I would say that, it is our honor and privilege to do this work on behalf of this community every day, and it weighs greatly on us, and that's really important. In terms of housing, I've been in tourism for 30 years, and I never needed to know what a unified development ordinance was until this job. And I would say that, Scott Dedman, who's been in this community working on housing for 30 years, told me, Vic, we have a housing supply issue, which is causing a housing affordability issue, and that cause is because we need policy change. And I just want to applaud the commissioners that you all have taken guidance from your planning director and what you all can do within and throughout unincorporated Buncombe County. And we need smart, dense, mixed-use infill where those hospitality workers can walk to work, have a great quality of life, and we have the land to do it in the Central Business District. So I would really encourage us to work together in those mixed-use projects. I think we got to a solution with the project that's affordable housing out near the Arboretum, and we said, this is what the project is and the priority is for the county. And through that grant process, we learned that while there are legal implications for using occupancy tax specifically for housing, there was a component of that project that are greenways, trails, and waterways that are absolutely permissible uses. And so we found a win-win in a way to work with quality of life aspects of that project to where the housing eventually will not be owned by the county. So therefore, the occupancy tax shouldn't be used for that purpose. So I think the more we try to have every seat at the table filled and figure out how we work together with the resources that we have, the resources that have been allocated, and hopefully will be showing up in our community, in our region, whether it's at the state level, federal level, or other grant opportunities that are out there. I'm hopeful for what the future can bring for our entire region.
Thank you, Vic. And that perspective is appreciated. And we spoke earlier today about how we can leverage TDA dollars to support the rebuilding of our parks and supporting things that folks here in this community enjoy. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Vic, thank you, and thank you for being such a great partner to work with to find win-wins. We appreciate you. All right, we have our Board of Education updates. Asheville City Schools and Buncombe County Schools are with us this evening, and I do believe that Rob Jackson from Buncombe County Schools is going first. I hope you knew that, Dr. Jackson.
I'm happy to. Good evening, Madam Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, Commissioners, Madam County Manager. What an absolute honor to have the opportunity to be invited to share with you how our students and staff members are doing, particularly in light of the release of state assessment data for the 2024-2025 school year. In these chambers, we've talked about, and I've heard often, that education is one of the largest components of the county's budget. And certainly we understand as you invest and commit a tremendous investment in education, that considering the return on investment is something important for our commissioners and for our citizens. And so thank you for the opportunity simply to share how it's going, those opportunities for celebration and those opportunities to continue to move forward. I do want to share my appreciation for Ms. Judy Lewis, a member of our Board of Education, who is here representing our board as well as our leadership team being here. As we consider the 2024-2025 school year, one of the things we have to consider is the impact of the hurricane. Like you, I'm ready to not talk about the hurricane anymore. We've talked about that ad nauseum. However, if we look at state assessment results or any academic results for our students during the 2024-2025 year, we do have to consider the impact. Beyond the impact to mental health and well-being, the impact of tremendous loss of property, houses, life, etc., there was a loss for our students in instructional time. As you'll see in this slide, our students missed almost 30 days of school last year, 19 following the hurricane. And then, as it would happen, we had more inclement winter weather last school year than we've had in years and years and years. And so all that combined to almost 30 days lost in a calendar that's typically 180 school days. As you will hear from my partner and friend, Dr. Maggie Furman, the state, in comparing the 115 school systems across the state for the 2024-2025 school year, did not grade on a curve. There was no recognition in the way that they sent out grades about what happened in Western North Carolina. So our students were compared to students across North Carolina who did not miss 30 days of school. Although we were able to use remote learning days, we understand that that will never compare or equal to our students being able to be in a classroom with our incredible teachers, high-quality teachers, highly qualified teachers who love our students. And so there was an opportunity cost for our students academically because of that time lost. That said, and that's not an excuse, that said, as I share the celebrations I'm about to share with you, I do so with tremendous pride. Because in the midst of the greatest natural disaster in the history of our state, our teachers, our students, our family, our community shined and continued to make sure that our students would be successful with all they were going through. As we move forward, one of the things I hope that you've seen and see in our school system every single day, in our walk and not just our talk, is a commitment to continuous improvement. 4 years ago, I appeared before you as your brand new superintendent in the school system, and I shared with you my great pride in returning home, that continuous improvement is a part of the DNA of the Buncombe County Schools system. Our theme that year was Elevate. The second year it was Greater Heights. Last year it was Together We Rise. This year it's Lead the Climb. Again, wanting to be better today than we were yesterday and better tomorrow than we are today. Continuous improvement requires that we continue to look at all of the data sources available to us, to make great decisions around that data, to be informed in using that data, to hear from the voices of our parents, our students, our staff, our community members, our elected officials, etc., so that the decisions we make, the plans we make, actually give us that return on investment, which is student success as they move forward. As I arrived, we began to work on our strategic plan. We hosted 13 town halls, had thousands of survey responses. We sat down with elected officials, everybody we could get in front of, students, staff, community members, et cetera, and said, what is it we need to be working on? What are you proud of? What are the areas that our school system needs to focus on? That resulted in our strategic plan. In the folder that you have a copy of our strategic plan, and you will see that the first goal centers on academics, as you would expect. The goal says every school will meet or exceed growth while increasing proficiency in all content areas and all subgroups as measured by multiple indicators of progress, including state assessments. We recognize there is good data, good information from state assessments, but it's not the only data. It's also, the very front page shows our core beliefs. We do not shy away from those things we believe. It guides everything we do. When we're talking about our budget, our Board of Education asks questions. How does this align with our school improvement, or with our strategic plan and our school improvement plans in each of our schools? And so we turn to the 2024-2025 results from our students. Here you see in this graphic a smattering of incredible things. Things like 93% of our elementary and intermediate schools met or exceeded growth in reading. Things like a 19.1 ACT composite score. Things like a 91.4% cohort graduation rate. And so digging a little further into the data, and I want to pause for a second to say if there are those in the community who would really like to see more data or get deeper into this data, our Associate Superintendent for Curriculum Instruction, Dr. Jennifer Reed, who is here, gave a great presentation in the October Board of Education meeting, over an hour diving deeply into the data. And so if you have interest around that, that presentation is available on our school system's YouTube page. Turning back to the data, though, as I kind of give a high-level overview, this metric, cohort graduation rate, I believe is the best metric for measuring what we do kindergarten through 12th grade. If we're doing our job in kindergarten, 2nd grade, 4th grade, 7th grade, 9th grade, 12th grade, our students graduate on time, ready for what comes next, ready to be successful. And so you'll see the class of 2025 had a 91.4% cohort graduation rate, the second highest cohort graduation rate in the history of the school system, second only to 2024 by 0.1%. So really close to meeting that high level, and particularly when we start to think about all we were going through, absolutely remarkable and a credit to our students and our staff. The ACT composite scores, recently the UNC Board of Governors lowered the ACT minimum requirement from 19 to 17. Buncombe County Schools did not lower our standard. And so you'll see we met our high water mark. Our composite score was 19.1, matching our previous high. And so we're very proud of our students as they take the ACT. In terms of college credit, multiple ways for our students to earn college credit in Buncombe County Schools. One of those ways is through advanced placement or AP courses. You'll see during the 24-25 year that almost 1,200 AP credits were successfully earned by our students. To get advanced placement credit, they take the course and then they take a national test in May when everybody else across the country takes it and have to score 3, 4, or 5 to get credit for that. And so we're proud of those 1,200 credits. Additionally, 6,300 credits, 19,000 college hours were earned through AB Tech by our students who made a grade of C or better on the AB Tech courses that we offer throughout the school system. And so we're really proud of that work for our students to earn college credit while they're still in high school. College is not for everybody, though. And so as we had those town halls and talked to folks, one of the things that we heard often was we need to make sure that we're preparing all of our students for their pathway to success. There's multiple pathways for success. One of those pathways is going directly into a career. And we were told, hey, we don't think Buncombe County Schools is earning, our students are not earning enough industry-recognized credentials. We need to make sure we're doing a good job with that. And so when I look at this graph, I am extremely proud because what I see is our strategic plan guiding our work, resulting in positive outcomes for our students because 3,111 industry-recognized credentials were earned by our students, giving our students who want to go directly into a career the credential they need to be able to do that. I'll point out that that number does not include the ACT Work Keys number that was a part of the metric in the past. If we added that back in, they don't count anymore, but if we added it back in, we would be over 4,000. And so I appreciate the work of our Career and Technical Education, our CTE program, and our high schools, our middle schools, really helping our students understand what it is they're interested in, and then if they are interested in a particular area, helping them get the credentials that'll help them move that along. Certainly our Economic Development Council is very excited by this as well. Really excited about all the areas to celebrate. I won't go through all of this. I'll simply say that you've got a copy of this. We're excited about things like Lester Elementary School exiting low performance status. I do not like that nomenclature. It's just not a fair grade. It is what it is, but we're excited they did the work to exit that status. You'll see 8 of our schools have exceeded growth for 3 or more years. I'd like to highlight Valley Springs Middle School. They were in the top 1% for growth in the entire state of North Carolina, number 17 out of over 2,000 schools across the state. Outstanding work. Lester Elementary was in the top 5% across the state, and so great work happening across Buncombe County. We're also really excited about things like exceeding expected growth for literacy, the foundational content area we teach in grades 3 through 7. K-3 literacy showing similar rates of growth across all student groups over the course of the year. Also, at the bottom of the slide, you see this little shout out to West Buncombe Elementary School. Next month, the great folks from West Buncombe Elementary School are going to be in Colorado because they've been named the North Carolina Title I Distinguished School, representing all, which is almost every single elementary school in the state of North Carolina, all Title I schools as the most distinguished school for closing achievement gaps. I'll share with you that 3 of the past 4 years, a Buncombe County school has been named. 2 years ago, it was Black Mountain Primary. 3 years ago was Estes Elementary. And knowing your geography, you'll recognize that in those 3 schools, we've just hit the length and breadth of Buncombe County, which tells me that excellence is permeating our school system. It's not just in pockets, and that's most important to me, that when we say every single student, we mean every single student, and zip code and address don't play into that, but we see success throughout Buncombe County. As we look at the 2 areas of the way they measure us, one is growth, one is proficiency. Very quickly, I'll tell you that proficiency is like running a race with a start line. Everybody starts at the start, and the measure is at the end of the race, how many cross the finish line. Growth looks at where did I start, because we know that not all of our students start at the start line when they come into K-12 education. Growth looks at where did they start, a year later, where did they get to? Did they meet the growth that would be expected? That's meeting growth. Did they exceed that growth? Did they not? And so the growth metric is the one I look closest at because we recognize that not all of our students start at the same place. One of the ways we look at that in terms of growth and proficiency is kind of indicated on this chart. So you'll see the horizontal axis is growth. The vertical axis is proficiency. So ideally, all of our schools would fall in that upper right-hand corner, high growth and high proficiency. Ideally, we'd have every school above the line at the high growth level, which is our goal and part of our strategic plan, and it's what we're working towards. Here are all 45 of our Buncombe County schools, as you'll see on the school. So they're each plotted here. It's called a scatter plot. The 2 green lines are the area of met growth. So if you are above the lower green line, you have met or exceeded growth for the 24-25 year. Again, the 24-25 year is the year where we missed 30 days of school. And so when I see this, I know that our folks are absolutely amazing, and our students are amazing, and our families and the loved ones, the people who support our children, are absolutely amazing. How do I know that? Well, I start to look at how many are meeting and exceeding growth, and then I plot them against every single school in North Carolina who had math EOG scores, so grades 3 through 8. There's a dot for every school. And the purple dots are our Buncombe County schools dots. What I might expect if the kids miss 30 days is that all of our schools would look lower and different than the rest of the state. What I see is our schools right there in its midst. We have work to do, there's no question. But we can all, as a community and as a group in our county, take great pride in what our students and staff are accomplishing. Our schools are measured both in growth and in proficiency. Here you see the last 3 years in terms of exceeding growth, meeting growth, not meeting growth. You'll see we have areas to work on. We certainly had areas that were impacted at a greater level by the hurricane. I won't get deep into the details, though I'll be happy to answer any questions. You know I could talk about our school system all night long. I love it so much. The school performance grade is a 15-point scale, 80% proficiency, 20% growth. We're proud that 77.3% of our schools had a grade C or better. 3 of our schools, Buncombe Early College, Buncombe County Center for Career Innovation, and Nesbitt Discovery Academy, all received a letter grade of A from the state. Looking very quickly at student groups, and again, Dr. Reed really dove deeply into this if you're interested in even more on this particular area. As we begin to look at how we're doing, here is kindergarten, first, second, and third grade. Beginning of the year, middle of the year, and end of the year. So for a second, I'd like us to look at those blue columns. To the far left, kindergarten in the blue column, beginning of the year, 20% of our students on the first day of kindergarten were ready for kindergarten. Now that certainly speaks to why this commission has put a priority on early childhood. Because I believe the greatest lever to closing achievement gaps and helping students succeed is really making sure that they're having high-quality 3-year-old and 4-year-old opportunities. We have students who arrive in kindergarten who've been to museums, who've been to festivals, whose parents have read to them every single night, who've listened to their parents have conversations about what's going on at the state and federal level. And we have students who've never had any of those experiences. And that's the truth. And so when we look at the data that says first day of kindergarten, only 20% of our students were ready for kindergarten, that can be sobering. But I look across the year in 24-25. At mid-year, that was 38%. At the end of the year in kindergarten, that was 73%. Incredible growth. And we see that growth, again, in literacy, proficiency across the grade levels in a year marked by all that it was marked by last year. Comparing that across years, you'll see when we compare it to 21-22, we are up in all 4 of those grade levels. We did not go up from year to year, from 23-24 to 24-25, particularly in first and second grade. And of course, we recognize those are foundational years, and it hits when you miss 30 days of school. And so we certainly have work to do, but overall, we're very proud of our upward trend. This graph I get really excited about. Looking only at the black circles. What this is looking at is by student group. You can see where our student groups started at the beginning of the year, where they ended at the end of the year. And while there are certainly achievement gaps and we have work to do, what I'm looking at as I look at those black circles is I'm seeing the growth in each of those groups. And when I see growth in every group of a similar nature, then I can feel good about we really are doing everything we can for every student, regardless of demographic characteristic. We have work to do, there is no question. But I believe in our team, and I'm proud of the progress we're making, even in years that we've had, like last year. Very quickly, our reading grades 3 through 5 proficiency trend, you see a positive trend there. Reading grades 6 through 8, English 2 is in the red, and then grades 6 through 8 in the blue. We have a trend there. We need to continue to prioritize reading in the middle school area. English 2 is typically a 10th grade English class. Math 3 through 5, we've got a slight positive trend. We did have a new curriculum last year that was introduced in the worst possible year to introduce a new curriculum in math, but it is what it is. And so certainly some more work to continue to do there. Math grades 6 through 8, you'll see our trend line there up over the previous year. Growth and proficiency takeaways for each of those areas I've written out in a narrative form for your consumption and what we're seeing there. Finally, I just want to mention, we're committed to getting better at getting better. And so in that folder, you'll see our strategic plan that was created after a year and a half of talking to everybody that we could create. You'll see a document called Sense of Belonging, because the biggest thing that came out was that every single one of our students need to know that they're loved and cared for. Every single one of our students need to know that they're known by name, by strength, and by challenge. That they can walk into their school and say, this is my school. Into their classroom and say, this is my classroom, this is my teacher, she loves me, he loves me. And that's our desire for every single student. We work every single day to make sure we're doing that. We dig deep into our data to make sure that we're getting better at getting better. We're guided by our strategic plan in every decision we make, whether that's budgetary, how we put together our schedule, or where we have personnel assigned across the county. We do involve all of our stakeholders in multiple opportunities through many, many advisory councils, whether that's students or staff members, community members, et cetera. This year, we revised our instructional framework, building on the work from our strategic plan and from our sense of belonging. And in this instructional framework, you'll see centered is our student learning experience. Everything starts with and is absolutely focused on our students, and we want to make sure we're being really thoughtful about what our students experience in our classrooms and in our schools to make sure they're able to graduate on time, ready for what comes next. Had the opportunity to, at the end of the summer, participate in our summer graduation with students who just need a little extra time. And it was so rewarding to stand with those students from across Buncombe County. And in fact, just a couple of weeks from now, we'll have our mid-year graduation, and we'll have students from all 11 of our high schools who've earned their high school diploma because we don't give those away. Ultimately, this is what it's all about. Every single student who walks in matters and is loved, and we'll continue to do our very best. Again, thank you for the opportunity to share with you how we're doing, work still ahead of us, and the work we're focused on. I also want to say thank you to this commission for the investment you make in our school system. Long-term investment across years. I appreciate that you ask hard questions, but I also appreciate that you continue to invest in our school system. Madam Chair, again, thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Dr. Jackson, and thank you for the recognition of the support of the commission. We appreciate you and your school board and your leadership from central office joining you this evening. I'm going to say in the 8-ish years that I've set up here, the explanation of proficiency and growth is probably the best that I have ever seen coming from a presentation this evening. I am going to ask if any commissioners have questions before we let you sit back down. All right. Thank you for your leadership and always the recognition and support of your teachers and school-based leadership.
Thank you.
All right, Dr. Furman, Asheville City Schools.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Commissioners, and Ms. Pender. I'm excited to be here tonight to share some great highlights about Asheville City Schools and our wonderful school system. Let me make sure I got the right button. I'm going to touch on 3 things, kind of give an overall state of our schools and share some great highlights from last year, give some highlights and share the state of our overall district, and then give you an update on just a few things for where we are with strategic planning. So what I asked our schools to do is to dig through all their data and to give me 5 highlights for, I don't know why that's coming up a little weird, but that's okay, to share highlights for each of their schools. And it took them a long time to comb through all of their successes and to find just 5. I said no more than 5, because we could spend a lot of time going through highlights. So you've got some here for you to review, and I'm just going to touch on 1 or 2 of each of these for the commissioners this evening. I think one of the things that stands out to me about Asheville High School, while it has wonderful academics and amazing athletic teams, our band is the largest band in Western North Carolina. It is the oldest band, I think, in the state, and they have received over 250 superior ratings at large group performance. So they are just a phenomenal band, such a strong band that starts in our middle school and our elementary schools and feeds up, and is a huge part of what students feel makes a part of the high school meaningful for them. At SILSA, we're excited. SILSA is actually celebrating its 20th year this year, and they're taking this opportunity to refine what it means to be a cooperative and innovative high school and deepening their partnership with AB Tech. We have such an amazing opportunity with AB Tech being just a 60-second walk from our high school campus. We know we need to capitalize on that and work to support what that relationship looks like so that every SILSA graduate will be graduating with an associate degree as well as their high school degree. So that's one of the plans that we have on there. One thing I do want to point out is on the bottom there, I did add our NCDPI grades, which Dr. Jackson so wonderfully explained for you. And it's each year, so it starts with 2025 and it goes across to the right to 2023. And the numbers kind of got squished down there, but that's okay. Asheville Middle School, you may not remember this, but over 2 years ago, we decided to combine Asheville Middle School and Montfort North Star. And last year was the first year those 2 schools came together. And then Helene hit. But they still moved on and did some really wonderful things. I think significantly at the middle school, one of the big things is they have worked really hard to make sure that students are there every day and that we are reducing discrepancies in our disproportionate outcomes for student discipline, as well as the number of days students are missing for disciplinary incidences, and that has reduced significantly. Another big highlight at Asheville Middle School last year was our sixth grade students collaborated on what we call a learning expedition. So they learn how to solve a real world problem and investigate it from every single academic and arts curriculums. And they focused on how they can combat climate change. And their focus was learning about climate change, what causes climate change, and what a solution could be. And their solution was, if you have native plants in your area, that supports an ecosystem that helps resist climate change. So our sixth graders then spent a day on the French Broad River, understanding and looking at where erosion happened and understanding the actual river and what kind of life it supports. And then they planted native plants along the banks of the river. Claxton Elementary, such a wonderful school. They showed tremendous growth in their educational and their students that are exceptional, as well as fourth grade. Every single student group showed exceptional growth in fourth grade. They've also been implementing a new SEL curriculum that has resulted in dramatic increases in their student attendance. Hall Fletcher Elementary, 2 years ago, was a school that was considered, quote, failing, and they have moved up and kept that score up the way we want it to. Hall Fletcher is one of our STEM schools, and they have started a robotics team. And if you ever have a chance to come and see kindergartners play with robotics, it will just blow your mind. And last year, those students did qualify and went to world championships. Ira B. Jones, also a wonderful school in our system. They have worked on really approaching student discipline and ending the disproportionate outcomes. And they have seen a marked reduction in their discipline outcomes for all students and closing that gap between disproportionate outcomes. And their focus last year has been on math. While their reading scores are still great, but also need work, their focus has been on what are we doing to support math in the early grades. And they're also seeing some wonderful results there. Oops, I missed, let me go back. Okay, Isaac Dixon has a great school. We also have a new principal at Isaac Dixon this year, and they have been focusing on school-wide flexible grouping for English language arts. And they've seen a result in that of a decrease in students performing below or well below in their language arts classes. Lucy Herring, also another great school with another new principal this year, but they have really focused on leaning into this idea of expeditionary learning, and they have done 3 expeditions this year. Their first expedition focused on chimney swifts and what impacts the environment and where chimney swifts live. They came up with examples and how you can help chimney swifts still have a place to nest, and built chimney swift like little houses for them. They also studied the impact of Helene on the Blue Ridge Parkway. And my favorite was our food, where does it come from and where does it go? So they learned about planting gardens, harvesting food, cooking food, but then also how to productively compost and then use that compost to go back into the garden. So really great work at Lucy Herring. So let me touch on state of the district and a couple highlights that I want to pull here. Our graduation rate. Oh, that really got weird. I don't know why I did that. So our graduation rate over the past 3 years has increased, and this year, or just last year, a graduation rate of 93%, where the high school graduation rate for the state has been 88%. So we're really proud of our increasing graduation rate. Also, for student dropout rates, we've seen a stark decrease in our dropout rates. And most recently, we don't have the 25 data yet, but most recently, at the end of 2024, our dropout rate getting close to 1 and hopefully less than 1, with the state average being 1.34. When we look at our overall achievement rates, just some high-level data here, we've seen our achievement increasing. And even with Helene, like Dr. Jackson said, missing 20 to 25 days of school, our overall achievement rate stayed the same, and still we're outpacing the state with their achievement rate being 55. When we are particularly proud of our third grade reading. Over the past several years, it's stayed steady, and then even after missing those significant amount of school days, our achievement rate increased, and the state average compared to is 47 compared to our 61%. We also have students scoring that 19 or higher on the ACT. So that number has increased dramatically. We were at 72% of our students overall scoring a 19 or above on their ACT, while the state was 55%. And then I think of note also for our ACT was that every single student group in Asheville City Schools exceeded the state average for every single subgroup. We also want to highlight the great work that we have focused on reducing the achievement gap in Asheville City Schools. So for the second year in a row, we've seen that achievement gap decrease. And two areas specifically where we saw really great gains was in third grade, that achievement gap decreased by 9 points, and our overall achievement gap in 9th through 12th grade decreased by 5 points. So our teachers are doing really wonderful work, and we're starting to see the impact in our students. I did want to pull some data on college and career ready indicators. So the first data comes is the percent of our students who do work credentials. It's 58% of those students are earning credentials in industries that are valued here in Western North Carolina, and specifically Buncombe County, Asheville. The percent of students that are enrolled in AP classes is 25%, which is compared to 17% at the state level. And we offer over 25 different types of advanced placement classes. And then percent of students that are in our College and Career Promise program is 62% compared to the North Carolina average of 36%. So some quick department highlights. We also wanted to share some of the great work happening in our central office. I think the biggest highlight for us at the finance is their continued certification of excellence for the hard work that they do. We've also revised our standardized our pay tables. So lots of great things happening in our finance department to make sure that our staff are getting the best of what we have to offer. Human resources, we're really excited that our staff attrition rate reduced by 12.7 points, and that student-facing positions, the absentee rate there decreased by 27%. So some really great work in supporting our staff. Operations Department, lots of great things, and also thank you to the Commission for the capital commission funds that we use to help do a lot of this work. Our Transportation Department has really been killing it. They had 0 bus route cancellations last year and only a 1% bus driver turnover rate, which I think was really great. And then one of our members on our operations team was actually selected by the North Carolina Center for Safer Schools to serve on a statewide committee. Curriculum instruction has been leading a lot of this work that's resulting in student achievement increases. We did receive that $700,000 grant from the federal government through Project Serve, and we used that partially last summer to help fund summer school. We're also using it this year for after school, and we'll continue to use those funds to pay for our summer school this coming year. And then one of the things that we've really been digging into is staff development. So how do we know that our teachers are improving their practice? So our curriculum and instruction department partners with the principals. They do walkthroughs in classrooms. They see, are we seeing those practices happening in the classrooms that we know are impacting student achievement? And then they're making sure that that staff development is provided for teachers so that we're seeing that stuff completed. Our Student Services Department has done a great job. We've created lots of new partnerships to help support our students. We did a complete overhaul of our Student Code of Success to make sure that it was clear, it could be equitably enforced across the board, and that everyone knew, students, parents, and staff, what it means when each of the rules is violated, so we make sure that those are equitably enforced across the board. And our counselors, I cannot shout out our counselors enough. Across our counseling team, over 3,000 individual counseling sessions, over 170 group small group, and then 519 classroom sessions. So they are out there doing that really hard work with our students each and every day. Our Community and Engagement Department, along with grants, has secured over $2.3 million in grants over the past 2 years, and we're really proud of that work. It has helped supplement some of the things that we know we need to do to support our students and those wraparound services that really impact our students. The other great thing from our Community Engagement Department is they've been doing monthly convenings with all of our community partners to help them know what are we doing, how do we teach reading, so that they can teach reading in their after-school programs and that it is seamless. So they are collaborating at a deep level, mapping out which students are in after-school programs, which may need an after-school, that don't have after-school, so that we can make sure every single student has that opportunity for after-school care. In the Office of the Superintendent, a big project that we did last year was writing 2 new policies. One, updating our grading policies. So the grading policy is very general. If we want our students to achieve and we know we want our graduation rate to mean something, we know our grades, we have to start with our grades. What do grades mean? So the policy put in place 5 principles. It said grades, first of all, must be easy to understand and accurate. Number 2, grades must reflect mastery of the academic standards. Principle 3 is that grades must be, students must get timely and actionable feedback on their grades so that they can actually understand why they got the grade that they got and be able to make corrections. The 4th principle is that there has to be a culture of revision. So we have to give students an opportunity. Instead of saying, sorry, you failed this test, we're just going to move on. That information was valuable. We don't just teach it and leave it. We need to teach it and then review and revise to make sure that our students are meeting that high level of mastery. And then the 5th principle is we cannot discipline students using grades. We have to use different strategies, that the grade has to be definitely a focus on mastery of standards. And then we also put in promotion benchmarks. So every single grade level has a bar to meet, and we have interventions put in place and checkpoints throughout the year. So if we see students aren't on that trajectory to meet those benchmarks, we are putting them in after-school programs, providing extra tutoring and interventions during the school day to make sure that those students will meet those benchmarks by the end of the year. Rob Jackson shared that he has been here now 4 years. This is my 3rd year, and believe it or not, I am the longest tenured superintendent in Asheville City Schools for, I think, almost 15 years. So you've got 27 more years to see me, because I promised I'll be here 30 years. So we have done a lot of work laying the groundwork for our strategic plan. So last year, we did a lot of work creating our theory of action for change. What drives change? How do we work as a school system to implement change that drives student achievement improvement? So we've got that set, it's organized, it has been approved. Then we moved into working on our portrait of a scholar. What are those attributes beyond grades that we want to see our students demonstrate so that they can be successful in college and career? So that leads us into just a quick update on strategic planning, just a quick overview of the phases. We are now into phase 4, which is really developing the plan. We've done lots of input, we've gathered surveys, we've had focus groups, and now we're building that plan to say, okay, what are the steps that we're going to put in place? One of those things, like I already said, was the portrait of a scholar. And our tagline for our strategic plan is that you can get it all in Asheville City Schools. No matter what you're looking for, if you're an artist, if you're a musician, if you want to be an engineer, a doctor, if you want to go and work in our police force, whatever your desire is, we can give you what you want in Asheville City Schools. And we do just that, but we want to make sure that that is known far and wide. What we're doing now is building our strategy maps. So we've created 4 focus areas. Each of those focus areas will have a very clear outline of what their theme is, what their objective is, and what their critical initiative and data points will be that they collect over time so that we can make sure what we're doing is impacting our student outcomes. That was all I had. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Furman. Are there questions? All right, thank you so much for joining us and for the great presentation. Oh, yes, go ahead, Commissioner Whitesides. I apologize, I missed you.
Thank you for your report. But as always, I have some questions and concerns about the city schools. And my first question is this: what is the actual racial achievement gap in Asheville City Schools?
I don't have that number right in front of me, but that's something I can pull and send you.
Is it still one of the highest in the country?
I'm not sure. I haven't compared it to national.
I would like to see that.
Yes.
And the other is, I have concerns, and I hear from parents and different people in the community about the disparity. What happens when kids are disciplined in the city schools? Because a lot talk about, for some things, it seems to be not worth sending kids home for, but they go. And
And that's,
especially when it's African-American kids.
Yeah.
And that's something else that I would like to see some figures on.
Sure.
Because, I spent 8 years ago on the city school board. I was concerned then, and darn it, here we are, 20 years later, and we still have some of the same programs. And on the other hand, when I look at the money that we get in the city schools, when you look at the taxes that we pay, the supplemental tax, by the way, I've paid for 40 years or more now, but since I've been back home. And all the taxes, the money that you have, I don't see the results that we should have.
Yeah.
And that's what concerns me, and I will complain about it from now on. Because, I will tell you, I'm a two-edged sword. I'm probably one of the biggest supporters of public education in this community, but I'm also one of the biggest critics because I want to see everybody, and this is something I've fought for all my life, to see all students, all adults, everybody to have a level playing field and to have the same chances. And I have some concerns with the city schools about that.
You're exactly right. So regarding student discipline, that is one of the reasons we did the complete overhaul of our student code of conduct. So we rewrote the code, we rewrote and planned out how administrators give consequences, what those look like. I audit our discipline records to make sure that it is consistent between different student groups and that we have a progression for students to get consequences. Staff had been relying on suspending students. That was their first go-to. There are many more things that we can do as a school system before we suspend students. So we've put that progression in place. So we will see those numbers coming down. And I know that we're going to see those results, and we can pull that data and send that to you right away.
Please.
I also think another huge thing is, as I mentioned, this is my third year, not even fully through my third year, and I'm the longest tenured superintendent in over 15 years. With that kind of turnover in a school district, every new superintendent brings in their new program, their new thing. So the staff in our school system has not had consistency and time to master skills, to put their good talents to work, because every time they turned around, they had a new person in charge saying, we're changing this, this is what we're going to do. So that's why I'm committed to being in this school system for a long time, so that we can, so I can provide that consistency, because that's what our students deserve, consistent leadership with high standards and support for our staff so the students can achieve what we know they're capable of.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, thank you all for joining us. We have a public hearing this evening, and Haley Madfuss is on her way up to provide the background information for us. Good evening, Haley.
My name is Haley Madfuss, and this is the review of ZPH 2025-00036, the Rogers Map Amendment. This hearing was properly noticed, and all applicable parties were notified of the meeting in accordance with general statutes and county code. That includes a legal ad in the local newspaper, notices mailed to property owners within 1,000 feet, a notice on the county's website, and physical posting on the site. The applicants and owners are Ricky and Rebecca Rogers. There are 3 addresses: 4 Dry Ferry Road, an unaddressed parcel on Ferry Road, and 80 Ferry Road. The area to be rezoned is 3 parcels totaling 13.4 acres. The current uses are residential low density and residential building lot. It plans to be served by public water and sewer once available. The application is to rezone from R1 residential to R3 residential. You can see the current zoning map on the left and then the proposed rezoning on the right side. This parcel is located in an area identified by the Buncombe County Comprehensive Plan's future land use map as mixed-use neighborhood, which does align with the R3 zoning district. This chart compares the dimensional standards of the zoning district. If the rezoning request is approved, the allowed density would increase. The minimum allowed lot size would decrease if serviced by sewer. The required setbacks from the property lines would remain the same, and the maximum allowed height of structure would remain the same. The types of uses allowed on the property would increase slightly. R1 zoning district is a lower intensity residential zoning district. R3 zoning would allow for bed and breakfasts, clubs or lodges, kindergartens with more than 8 kids, group homes, healthcare facilities, multifamily residential rooming houses. The surrounding developments include a manufactured home park, self-storage, used car sales, residential low density, the future Ferry Road project, which is the pink on the map in the city of Asheville, and undeveloped commercial. The rezoning request has been found to be consistent with a number of county plan recommendations, such as the future land use map category and description, the proximity to sewer and city water, the density. The proposed rezoning does allow for a transition between higher intensity uses and lower intensity uses, the proximity to a transportation corridor, the avoidance of overlay districts, floodplain, and the proximity to other commercial areas. And based on this, staff does recommend approval. The planning board unanimously recommended approval at their meeting on 11/17/2025. Does the board have any questions?
All right, there being none, we will go ahead and open the public hearing at 6:31 p.m.
Sorry, so we do have the language, just so for you, for the board motions for recommending approval or denial if you need them. It's on the last slide of the PowerPoint, if you need it this time.
Yes, and we'll ask them to pull that up after we open and close the public hearing. Thank you, Haley. All right, the public hearing is open. Are there any members of the audience who wish to speak? All right, there being none, we'll now close the public hearing at 6:32 p.m. All right, may we have the motion pulled back up, please?
There we go.
Thanks, Jillian. All right, commissioners, do I have a motion to approve or deny?
I'll make the motion to approve the rezoning of the subject property as it is consistent with the Buncombe County 2043 Comprehensive Plan.
Thank you, Commissioner Sloan. Second, Commissioner Moore. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, rezoning is approved. Haley and Jillian, thank you for being with us this evening. We'll move into our new business, and our first item under new business is the approval of our FY25 external audit. And Melissa Moore, our finance director, is here, and I believe Tim Lyons with Malden and Jenkins is also here with us.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
So state statute requires all local governments to have an external financial audit each year. In addition to that, Buncombe County, as a recipient of federal and state grant funds, is also required to submit single audits for the grant compliance under certain programs. Malden and Jenkins, our audit firm, has issued an unmodified or a clean audit opinion. On December 2nd, the draft audit was presented to the audit committee, of which they have approved recommendation for the Board of Commissioners to approve the audit. So this evening, I introduce to you Tim Lyons, the audit partner for Malden and Jenkins, to present our FY25 audit results.
Thank you all. Good evening. Thank you for having me here. I'm going to just kind of briefly a agenda for the slides, and I'll go quickly. I know y'all have had a lot going on tonight, and want to touch on the high points of the of the county's audit. Just as a reminder, my name is Tim Lyons, and I have served as the engagement partner for the county's audit. This is our third year auditing the county, and myself and Kayla, who is the engagement manager, she and I have been in our roles with the audit for the last 3 years. That third person there that's in the middle, our quality control reviewer, we have rotated that each year, and that quality control reviewer is kind of a partner within our practice, somebody who has not had any experience at all with the county's engagement that year, but has a significant amount of experience serving governmental clients throughout the Southeast, including in North Carolina. And that person does kind of an independent final review. They look through the county's report and through our audit file and make sure that we've done everything we need to do in order to express our opinion on the county's ACFR this year. As Melissa pointed out, our responsibility is to audit the financial statements and to express an opinion on those financial statements. Where it says report on basic financial statements there, about 2/3 of the way down the slide, we issued an unmodified or clean opinions on the financial statements. There's no higher or better opinion or grade that you can get. And so an unmodified opinion means that in the county's annual comprehensive financial report for the fiscal year that ended June 30 of 2025, the financial position, the results of operations, and the cash flows for the fiscal year then ended are considered to be materially correct in accordance with the generally accepted accounting principles. As Melissa also alluded to, there are 3 additional reports. And so you've got your opinion on the financial statements in the front of the ACFR, and then in the back, in the compliance section, you've got 3 additional reports that we are required to issue as a part of our audit. The first one is the Government Auditing Standards Report, or the Yellow Book Report. This report is on internal controls over financial reporting and compliance and other matters in accordance with an audit conducted in accordance with government auditing standards. This report is not an opinion on internal controls, nor is it an opinion on compliance, but essentially as we go through the conduct of the audit, we are required to consider internal controls and consider the impact that those controls have on the preparation of the county's financial statements. We also look at compliance with a variety of state and federal laws and contracts as we kind of audit those things in the normal course of performing our financial statement audit. This year, the Yellow Book Report does include one finding, as it were. That finding relates to a material audit adjustment that was required in the county's financial statements. Without getting all the way down into the weeds here, essentially, the county reports capital assets in their financial statements every year. That's on the statement of net position. There were some capital assets that had been carried for the last couple of years that were incorrectly reported by the county. Those capital assets actually belong to the 2 school districts, Buncombe County Schools and Asheville City Schools, and essentially they were part of a large solar panel project. And when the project got finished and was capitalized and recorded, we just accidentally picked up the amounts that are the responsibility of the school systems to maintain. And so we had to make an adjustment to remove those capital assets that had been reported in previous years. And so that's what that net adjustment there of about $6.1 million. This issue was identified by the county. This was not found by us. They brought it to us during the audit. The only reason that it kind of has to be reported as a finding is that we're correcting a number that was in a previously issued financial statement. So that is why this rises to the level of being a finding, because we're fixing something that had been previously issued in a past annual comprehensive financial report for the county. The other 2 reports we issue that are in the back are the 2 single audit reports. These are the 2 reports that we do when we have to audit federal programs and major state programs. The current year programs that we were required to audit are listed there in the middle of this slide. There is a risk-based approach that we have to go through every single year to determine which programs we're required to audit. We don't get to pick and choose. We have to go through and determine based on dollar thresholds and current year expenditures and all those types of things. The only one that we are required to audit every single year is the Medicaid cluster. That is true for every county in the state of North Carolina, and that is a decision that is made by the federal government. Medicaid is automatically designated a high-risk program. We don't get any flexibility there. We have to look at that program every year. We had clean opinions, unmodified opinions on compliance for both the federal and state programs. We did have one finding this year, and this is actually, just one of those weird things that happens due to when we do our audits. We had a similar finding last year related to another program, and it has to do with these day sheets that employees are required to keep up with. It's unfortunate. This is actually a fairly common problem, and we're hoping that the state is going to adjust the guidance for how they require us to test this. But specific to Buncombe County, we do know that the county has already addressed and fixed this issue as a result of the conversations we had with them during last year's audit. It just so happens that last year's audit was occurring during fiscal year 25, and so this issue kind of remained throughout fiscal year 25 up until the point where it was a different program but the same issue. And so we know just from talking to county staff, this issue has been resolved. We do not expect this to be a problem going forward. And really, we're not talking about any significant amounts of dollars. It truly is just a test of do these two things match? And because of the uniqueness of these day sheets and how payroll systems work, oftentimes there's just minor discrepancies, and that's where our hands are kind of tied. It's like it either matches or it doesn't. We don't get a lot of judgment there. The next couple of slides here are what are known as the required communications. These are the things that the standards require me to communicate and submit to you all in writing. I've done that, so I'm not going to go through here and read every single one of these. I think it's just important. I'll touch on a couple of these as I sort of flip through here. Relationship with management. I think it's important for the board, those charged with governance, to hear from the auditor about our relationship with management during the conduct of the audit. We really appreciate Melissa and her team. From a finance standpoint, they are always on top of it. They get us what we need. They get us the information that we need. This year was a particularly challenging year for all of our audit clients, just because there were significant delays in this thing called the compliance supplement from the federal government. But even with those delays and the fact that the state allowed for an additional 45 days in order to finish audits, the deadline was moved from 12/31 to February the 12th. Buncombe County's audit was still done well ahead of that, and really appreciate Melissa and her team, as well as everybody else within the county. I mean, as I mentioned, all those programs we have to audit, there's a lot of information we ask for. We ask for access to a lot of different people, and appreciate the help of all county folks in working with us and getting us what we need to do our audit. Audit adjustments. I like to talk about if we had any past adjustments that are not reflected in the financial statements. We had one this year that was very immaterial, and it just had to do with a revenue accrual that where kind of late in the game after the trial balances were closed out and the financial statements were already in the drafting process. There was a receipt that came in that technically applied to fiscal year 25 that should have been accrued, but it wasn't material, and we agreed with county management on that, and so we passed on making that adjustment. So one minor immaterial, past audit adjustment. And then lastly, this auditor independence thing. We are required to be independent, not only in accordance with our professional standards, but because of the single audits that we have to do. Government auditing standards imposes even stricter guidelines on what we are and are not allowed to do for an attest client. And so we meet all of those requirements and therefore can be considered independent in order to express our opinion on the financial statements. Two quick slides here. I think just kind of very high-level financial things that I think are important. Looking at the county's general fund, certainly the fund that most folks want to look at and talk about. This slide here looks at fund balance and compares that fund balance to expenditures within the general fund. Last year, obviously in 2024, our unassigned fund balance had dipped down below that 15% minimum that we had set, and that number has increased back up. June 30, 2025, we were at 17%, and I know y'all are typically accustomed to looking at this as a percentage of expenditures and transfers out. This is just looking at it as just expenditures. So we're not including transfers out in here. And the one kind of other big difference between 24 and 25, that purple area, that assigned fund balance, we see that go away from 24 to 25. What was in there in 2024 is when general fund balance is appropriated for the next fiscal year, that fund balance is required to be reported as assigned. And in fiscal year 2025, the 2026 budget did not include any appropriation of general fund balance. So that's where that purple area went from 24 to 25. Other than that, no real big changes other than an increase in unassigned fund balance for the county in 2025. This other slide has been a slide we've included in our presentations over the last couple of years, just because, you know, with a lot of governments, especially in the Southeast and in certain areas within the Southeast, you know, property valuations have changed significantly in the last 5 years. And so, you know, we try to look at this to see how are total revenues tracking in your general fund, like your property tax revenues compared to your total revenues. We've seen some places where those can get really out of line because maybe we're not keeping up with how property valuations are changing. What are we doing with our tax rates? And what you can see in Buncombe County is for the last 5 years, property tax revenues have remained fairly consistent as a percentage of overall revenues in the general fund. So, you know, really we're looking for outliers, trends there, maybe big spikes or changes year over year, but, you know, pretty consistently over the last 5 years that the property tax revenues have remained, you know, about 2/3 of general fund revenues over the last 5 fiscal years. The last couple slides here, just some information we include. You know, there's a fairly significant new GASB standard that came out that will impact the county's financial statements for next year. It'll change. No new things that we're going to be recognizing, no new financial statement elements, just changes in the presentations of our income statement for our proprietary funds. Also, where the budgetary information is included in the ACFR. So some things that will change for your fiscal year 2026 budget, and we're already talking with finance staff about, you know, how we can be ahead of those things and make sure that we're ready to go during the fiscal year 2026 audits. The rest of this stuff is just, you know, presented to you all by way of information, and certainly I'm happy to take any questions that you all may have.
Thank you, Tim. Commissioners, do you have questions?
I'll just say thank you. You were very thorough.
Of course.
Yeah, I'd like to thank you for a job well done, being on the audit committee. We appreciate it.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Folks, we need to really compliment our staff, the financial people, all of our staff, because one of the things that we did this year that really, I sweated, I'm sure along with a lot of others, is that we made the hard choices to make sure that our fund balance did not stay below 15%. And where a lot of people don't realize it, that's critical for us because that affects our bond rating and everything. And, you know, we need to be able to borrow at the cheapest rates now with what we're going through because of Helene and getting the money from the feds and whatever. But I think that was critical that we were able to do it because a lot were not able to do it, you know, during this time. But I'd like to, again, we can't thank our staff enough for what, you know, the hard work that they put into this so that we could do it. And I would like to make a motion that we approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Whitesides. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Wells. Any further conversation or discussion? All right, there being none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, audit is approved. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. All right, we have one more item of new business. That's approval of a school funding agreement, and John Hudson, our budget director, is joining us with additional information. Good evening, John.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm back to talk about school funding agreement for K-12 operating. As a reminder from our last discussion at the December 2nd briefing, there have been challenges in funding K-12 schools and planning and sustainability of our ongoing contribution, as well as uncertainty from the state in their inability to pass a timely budget. Staff for both the county and the schools researched other funding methods by North Carolina counties and worked closely to find a solution for funding. The solution we chose was a formula using major county revenue sources based on recent actuals. There would be some flexibility based on changes in enrollment or for emergencies. This funding agreement is focused on operating the local current expense. Funding for capital remains in place per statute. Property tax and sales tax represent about 95% of the unrestricted revenue that the county receives annually. We generally see some level of growth in these revenue sources. That's been roughly about 4.5% over the last 3 years on average. By using a fixed percentage of these sources, we create a path forward that's sustainable and predictable. We worked in close collaboration with our school partners who felt a look back at actual revenues would be more reliable than a projection of future revenues. Working in concert with our school partners, we have agreed on a percentage of 37.76% of these two revenue sources. When we look at the year-over-year local current expense as a percentage of these two revenue sources, this has varied from just under 35% up to 39.5%. This percentage restores the local current expense to pre-Helene levels and adds 1.9% growth based on revenue growth from fiscal year 25 to fiscal year 26 to include the change in the tax rate. The expense will be split along the average daily membership, or ADM, of the schools per statute, roughly 85 to 15. As a reminder, for all, local current expenses provide for operating expenses for the school systems, and the school systems decide how to direct those dollars to meet their needs. The county does not direct specific expenditures. This agreement is now drawn up with legal language. Specifies which sales tax is designated, as well as standardized dates for renewal. It also defines emergency with the following language. Emergency is defined as a sudden, unexpected, or extraordinary event, or a series of events that poses an immediate threat to the financial ability of any party to meet legal obligations, and which is beyond the capacity of operational resources to address effectively. This may include exigent circumstances after the time during which the normal budget process occurs, unforeseen circumstances outside the scope of the typical purview of the K-12 budgets, and urgent and unpredictable expenditures impacting the health, safety, and well-being of students or staff. Both school boards have reviewed the agreement at meetings last month. Buncombe County Schools has this on their agenda this month, and Asheville City Schools is putting this on their February agenda. We are here for board approval this evening. Are there questions?
Thank you, John. Commissioners, I do want to reiterate something that John said that I think does continue to kind of pop up, is that by statute, we cannot dictate how the schools spend their money. We make an allocation and we entrust that they spend it. I think that has popped up several times in the last a couple of budget cycles, and I just want to acknowledge and appreciate you for continuing to bring that forward, that we allocate the money and trust the schools to spend it in the most appropriate ways. Do you all have questions for John?
I just had two about a specific slide, sorry. The local current expense slide with the bar graphs.
Mhm.
I'm going to try to use this to explain this to folks, so I want to make sure I understand what I'm saying out loud. You said it was that this would represent a return to pre-Helene levels. I think, I don't want to misquote you, but what, can you repeat that?
We're restoring, yes, this is a restoration of pre-Helene levels plus 1.9% growth.
And that's what the green bar is representing?
Yes.
And that is and that's representing the FY 2026
Yes, if we
budget.
applied the formula.
If you apply the formula to it. I see. So that's a forward-looking estimate.
Yes, this will be based on actuals, which in early March, once the month of February closes, we will look back at actuals for the 12 months prior. So we will go from March to February actuals for property tax and sales tax. And then we will calculate at that point and provide that information to the schools.
Okay. And which bar would most, no, that would be actual 25. Never mind. I answered my own question. Thank you, John.
Commissioner Wells, I think you had questions, and I see you as well, Commissioner Ball.
Yeah, still on that same topic, just to make sure I understand as well. So the formula, the green bar, that's just showing that if we were using that, if we had used that this year, where it would be. Am I understanding? Because you're not projecting into the next budget with that?
I'm not projecting in the next budget. No, we will have, since we're using actuals, when the February month closes, then we will calculate what that percentage is, and we'll slot it in our budget for planning.
Okay. And then I also just wanted to clarify, so thank you to staff so much for working on this. And my understanding is you all worked closely with both the city school and the county schools with their staff to come up with this formula.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So now you got me confused.
Okay.
Let me be clear that I understand what John just said. John, the 3776 is the base, right? And then the dollar amount's different because the property tax value will be higher. But the base that we will start our next budget cycle would be 37.76.
37.76.
I don't think that's what you said before, so I just want to make sure that was clear.
Yeah, the green, if we can go back to the slide. The green represents what the formula would have calculated if used in this given year.
Okay. The dollar amount.
The dollar amount. So he's showing you that if we had applied that 37.76 to the current budget, it would have generated 119, just shy of $120 million compared to the 117 that we actually funded. So it would have given them a growth. But when we come to you with our new budget year that we're looking at, we would start with a 37.76 set aside right off the top for schools. That money will be more than 120 because the actual number we are multiplying it by will be higher. Your property tax will be higher, your sales tax will be higher. So they will get more revenue. But the percentage of what we will set aside is the 37.76%.
Thank you. That was helpful.
Commissioner Ball.
Yes, okay, I have another question. I'll ask my new question first. Could we go back to the really useful slide that we keep referring to? My understanding is that from 24 to 25, there was actually an increase in the dollar amount that we received. We kept basically baseline for BCS. ACS had a slight increase because of an increase in the sales tax. But I'm seeing 39.47 down to 37.18. So am I remembering that
This is
correctly?
if you applied, what percentage is of our actual property tax and sales tax.
Okay.
So this is if you apply that formula, or if you applied the methodology, what the percentage would have been. So this is based on the actuals in each given year. The formula is new, and we've not applied this methodology before. So we're showing an example of what the methodology would have looked like year over year.
Okay, so, yeah, so it's still a growth in the dollar amount. correct?
Yes.
And also, this is a baseline, this is not per pupil, correct?
No.
Okay, so even, we do expect some decline in enrollment. So if we were to look at per pupil allotment, we would expect that to be even higher growth per pupil.
If there was a reduction in ADM, yes, you would expect a larger increase
Okay.
per pupil.
Okay, great. And then I'll just close with just thanking you, John, thanking the staff. I know I've heard a lot of appreciation from our school partners that this is a really collaborative process, and that I think this is going to help with some predictability, some stability, so that our schools can plan appropriately. Just thank you.
Are there further questions for John? All right. I will say, over the past couple of months working through this with the school board chairs, vice chairs, as well as Vice Chair Moore, I think one of the things that has really been at the surface of this is that just because we're approving this formula does not mean that the county commissioners will not continue to support advocating for public education funding. Since we have had a legislative agenda, we have continued to have fully funding our K-12 schools on that state legislative agenda. I can't imagine that we will not continue to advocate for that. As we know as commissioners, we are doing nearly everything we can in our power to fund our schools, and we see the value of advocating with the General Assembly to do their work and to fund schools. And so I just want to state that to our school partners, that we will continue to work with our local delegation, with representatives across the General Assembly in hand with each of you to ensure that Raleigh is hearing and listening to the true needs of our K-12 schools. With that, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Are there further questions, conversations
I do.
before we take a vote?
Yeah, I guess I would just add a comment to your comment as well, just that this also doesn't kind of take off the table the responsibility and job of both us and each school board to advocate to us and to communicate with us and to talk about their needs. And doesn't take any of that work off the table. It hopefully just adds some predictability and some stability for the future. And it's trying something new, which I think is always a good idea.
I just wanted to point out, since we do have our superintendent partners here, if you all had comments that you wanted to share before we move forward, or just want to provide the opportunity. No? Okay. Or Dr. Jackson?
Yeah, I think Dr. Jackson might.
Well, I'll just echo, I'm going to speak if you give me an opportunity, but I just want to echo what the commissioners have said. I very much appreciate our county managers and the chairs and vice chairs of our county manager and the chairs and vice chairs of the three boards for bringing in our staff, our finance staff, Dr. Furman and myself, so that we could work through this. A lot of work has gone into this, and it has been a collaborative process. So kudos to all involved. Thank you for the opportunity to speak, Commissioner Ball.
Thank you, Dr. Jackson.
Thank you, Dr. Jackson, Dr. Furman. All right.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, we have a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion unanimously carries. Thank you all very much. Thanks, John. All right. We do not have board appointments to make at this time. I think we'll probably have some next time. Great, thank you, Sarah. Commissioners, are there any updates from you all from boards and commissions that you serve on? It's been a while since we've been up here, but it's also been the holidays, so I don't know if anyone's had meetings.
Well, we had our early childhood education meeting today, and you came back full steam ahead. Our last meeting, we actually had a presentation about early childhood. We got to share some of that, and we're already putting that plan into action. Today's was a panel that involved multiple other counties, all offering their perspectives about what's working, what's not working, and found out some encouraging things about Buncombe kind of setting the standard in a lot of ways about what early childhood can look like, and just our targeted funding efforts, really setting the stage for at least one of our partner counties and figuring out how we better invest that money and seeing what other folks are doing and learning from their mistakes so we don't make them.
That's great. Thank you, Vice Chair Moore. The Affordable Housing Subcommittee met today. Affordable Housing Services Program applications are due January 30th. We are excited to see what comes forward. We also heard from the new president and CEO of the Housing Authority of Asheville, Ella Santos. She's officially been in the role, she said, 8 weeks today, and received an update about the changes that she's making as the leader of the Housing Authority, how vouchers will be used, and definitely making some changes in terms of working with the COC and supporting folks who are transitioning from the formerly unhoused to having the opportunity to reside in public housing. So that is a directional change from previous HACA leadership to Ms. Santos's leadership. So we look forward to working with she and her team as well, as they really are committed, I think, to affordable housing and working hand in hand with local government. They are. Anyone else?
I'll just quickly, we've discussed this before, but I just want to flag that the continuum of care will have the point-in-time count on January 27th and 28th, and they still need more volunteers. It's a huge community effort to ensure we have as many conversations as possible, make sure that as many voices are heard. So I encourage everybody to go check out the point-in-time count and sign up to be part of that.
Thank you, Commissioner Ball. All right, our next briefing and regular meeting will be January 20th. Our briefings at 3 p.m. will continue for the entirety of calendar year 2026 to be held in the first floor conference room, and our regular meetings at 5 p.m. will continue to be held here. The board will host a budget work session on January 22nd in the first floor conference room beginning at 9 a.m. Kurt, I believe we have a closed session this evening.
Yes, I need a motion for the Board of Commissioners to go into closed session for the following reasons. The first reason is to discuss matters relating to the location or expansion of industries or other businesses in the area served by the Board of Commissioners, including agreements on tentative list of economic development incentives that may be offered in negotiations, provided that any action authorizing the payment of economic development incentives will occur in open session. The statutory authority is contained in General Statute 143:18.11, subsection A4. The second reason we need to go into closed session is to establish or to instruct the public body staff or negotiating agents concerning the position to be taken on or behalf of the Board of Commissioners in negotiating the price and other material terms of a contract or proposed contract for the acquisition of real property by purchase, option, exchange, or lease. The statutory authority is contained in 143:318.11, subsection A5.
All right, and no action will be taken.
No action will
All right,
be
so we
taken.
will adjourn from closed session. Do I have a motion to enter closed session?
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Sloan. We have a second.
Second.
Thank you, Vice Chair Moore. We are in closed
You
session.
need to vote on that.
Oh, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are now in closed session. Thank you, Kurt. And thank you all for joining us this evening.